got to know your worth. Life will bring people into your path who see your potential, your talent, and your energy, but not everyone has your best interest at heart. Some will try to take advantage of your kindness, your drive, and your ambition. But you've got to stand firm. Don't let them use you. Don't let them dictate your worth or determine your path. You've been given a purpose, a strength deep within, and it's time to protect it. You are not here to be a tool for someone else's gain. You're here to walk your own journey with power. Recognizing your worth begins with understanding that you are more than others see on the surface. Too often we get caught up in the roles people assign us and the expectations placed on our shoulders. People will see your talents, your abilities, your strengths, and they'll want to use them for their own benefit. But you've got to realize that you are not here to simply fulfill someone else's agenda. You are not a tool, a resource, or something to be used up. You have a purpose, a unique journey that belongs only to you. And that journey is too precious to be handed over to anyone else. When you don't recognize your own worth, you allow others to define it for you. You become a reflection of what they need, not what you are destined to be. This can happen in relationships, in careers, even in the way we interact with the world around us. You might find yourself constantly giving, constantly bending, always sacrificing your own dreams, your own happiness for the sake of others. But here's the truth: your value doesn't come from how much you can give to others. It comes from the core of who you are, from the strength inside of you that's been there all along. Recognizing your worth is not about being selfish or arrogant. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing that you deserve to be treated with dignity, that your time and energy are valuable, and that your life has meaning far beyond what anyone else may see. People may try to use you because they see the light you carry, but they can't steal that light unless you let them. They can't take from you what you're unwilling to give. That's why you've got to stand firm in who you are. Know your value, and don't let anyone dim your shine. Now, it's not always easy to step into this mindset. Society often teaches us to be people pleasers, to go along with what others expect. We're taught to avoid conflict, to keep everyone else happy, even if it comes at the expense of our own peace. But the reality is, when you're constantly sacrificing yourself for the sake of others, you're giving away parts of your soul. Over time, you start to feel empty, worn down, and used. You start to question whether you matter outside of what you do for other people. But that's where the shift has to happen. You have to realize that your worth is not tied to what you can do for others. Your worth is inherent. It's built into the very fabric of who you are. No one can take that away from you unless you give them the power to do so. So how do you recognize your worth? It starts with self-awareness. You've got to take a step back and look at your life, at the patterns you've fallen into, and ask yourself if you're living in alignment with your true value. Are you constantly giving without receiving? Are you bending over backward to meet someone else's needs while neglecting your own? Are you sacrificing your own happiness just to keep others happy? If the answer is yes, then it's time to make a change. Self-worth comes from within, but sometimes you have to remind yourself of it, especially when the world around you is trying to convince you otherwise. It's about affirming to yourself every day that you matter, that your dreams matter, that your happiness matters. When you start to believe that, you begin to walk differently. You start to set boundaries, to say no when something doesn't serve you. You stop letting people walk all over you, and you start demanding the respect you deserve. This isn't about being harsh or unforgiving. It's about protecting your spirit, protecting your journey, and ensuring that you're not used up by others who don't see your true worth. Recognizing your worth also means understanding that you have the right to pursue your own path, to follow your own dreams, and to live life on your terms. You are not obligated to live up to anyone else's expectations. You are not here to be someone else's solution, someone else's source of comfort, or someone else's stepping stone. You have your own purpose, and that purpose is powerful. When you start to recognize that, you begin to take back control of your life. You stop letting others dictate your worth, and you start living in alignment with the person you are meant to be. It's important to realize that people who try to use you often do so because they see your potential. They recognize your abilities and they want to benefit from them. But just because they see it doesn't mean they respect it. You have to be the one to respect your own worth. You have to be the one to draw the line and say, I am more than what I can do for you. I am more than the tasks you assign me. I am more than your expectations. When you stand firm in that, people will begin to respect you, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Sometimes recognizing your worth means walking away from situations or relationships that no longer serve you. It means having the courage to say, I deserve better even when it's difficult. It's about trusting that when you honor your own value, better opportunities, better relationships, and better circumstances will come your way. You don't have to settle for being used. You don't have to settle for less than what you deserve. When you recognize your worth, you start to attract people and situations that align with that worth. You begin to walk in your purpose with confidence, knowing that you are more than enough. In those moments when you feel like you're being pulled in a million directions, remember this: you are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to fulfill your own destiny, to live a life that is meaningful to you, and to walk a path that is uniquely yours. Others may try to use you along the way, but you have the power to decide how much of yourself you're willing to give. You have the power to protect your heart, your mind, and your spirit from being drained by those who don't appreciate your worth. So stand tall in who you are. Know that your value is not determined by what others think of you or how much you can do for them. Your value comes from within. It comes from knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness just as you are. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to earn your worth. It's already there, inside of you. All you have to do is recognize it, embrace it, and live in a way that reflects it every single day. Remember, you are more than a tool for others to use. You are a person with dreams, with passions, with a purpose that goes far beyond what anyone else can see. You are worth more than what you can do for others. You are worth more than the roles they assign you. You are valuable. And when you start to recognize that, the whole world begins to change. Your life begins to change. Because when you know your worth, you walk through life with a power and confidence that no one can take away. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's about recognizing that you have value and understanding that you deserve to protect that value. When you don't set boundaries, when you don't make it clear what you will and won't tolerate, people will take advantage. They'll use you, exploit your kindness, your time, your energy, until there's nothing left for you. But setting boundaries, that's where the strength comes in. It's not about shutting people out. It's about making sure you're not giving so much of yourself that you lose who you are. Boundaries are essential for your well-being. They help you maintain control over your life, your emotions, and your energy. Too often we're taught that saying no is a bad thing, that we should always be available, always be giving. But that's not true. Saying no, setting limits, it's not selfish, it's necessary. It's an act of self-respect. When you set boundaries, you're telling the world, I matter, my time matters, my energy matters. You're making it clear that you're not just here to serve others at the expense of your own happiness. Now, it's not always easy to set those boundaries, especially when you care about the people around you. You want to help. You want to be there for them. But you have to understand that if you give too much, if you keep pouring from an empty cup, there's nothing left for you. And when there's nothing left for you, that's when burnout happens. That's when resentment builds. You start to feel like you're being used, like people are taking advantage of your good nature. And you know what? In many cases, they are, because you haven't made it clear where the line is. Setting boundaries means recognizing that you're not here to be everything to everyone. You have your own life, your own goals, your own needs, and those are just as important as anyone else's. You have the right to say, I can't do this right now. You have the right to walk away from situations or relationships that drain you, that take more than they give. That's not being selfish, that's being smart. That's being strong. When you set boundaries, you're protecting your peace. You're ensuring that you have the space and the energy to focus on what truly matters to you. Boundaries are about clarity. They're about being clear with yourself and with others about what you need and what you won't accept. It's about saying, I respect myself enough to know when enough is enough. People who truly care about you, who truly value you, will respect your boundaries. They'll understand that your limits aren't about pushing them away, they're about maintaining balance in your life. But those who don't respect your boundaries, those who get upset when you say no, those are the people who were benefiting from your lack of boundaries in the first place. It's important to remember that setting boundaries isn't a one-time thing. It's a constant practice, especially in a world where everyone seems to want a piece of you. It takes courage to stand up and say, this is what I need. This is what I won't tolerate. But that courage is what separates those who are used and drained from those who live with purpose and peace. It's about recognizing that you are the gatekeeper of your life. You decide who gets access to your time, your energy, your heart. One of the keys to setting boundaries is knowing your limits. You've got to take time to understand yourself, to know what drains you and what fuels you. When you know that, you can make better decisions about where to invest your time and energy. You can start to say no to the things that pull you away from your purpose and yes to the things that lift you up, that push you forward. Boundaries give you the space to grow, to thrive, and to become the person you're meant to be without being weighed down by the demands of others. It's also about communication. You have to be able to communicate your boundaries clearly and firmly. People can't respect what they don't know. And sometimes that means having difficult conversations. It means standing up and saying, I need this to change, or I can't keep giving in this way. Those conversations aren't always comfortable, but they're necessary. They're necessary for your well-being, for your peace of mind, and for the health of your relationships. Because when you set boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself, you're also creating healthier dynamics with the people around you. Another key to setting boundaries is learning to deal with the guilt that can come with it. Society often tells us that we should be selfless, that we should always put others first. And while there's nothing wrong with helping others, there's a big difference between helping and being exploited. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have. And if you're constantly giving at the expense of your own well-being, that's not selflessness, that's self-neglect. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to prioritize your needs. In fact, it's more than okay, it's essential. Setting boundaries also means being willing to enforce them. It's not enough to say, this is my boundary, you have to be willing to stand by it. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when people push back. Because trust me, they will push back. People who have gotten used to taking advantage of your kindness won't like it when you start to set limits. They'll try to test those boundaries to see if they can get you to bend. But that's where your strength comes in. You've got to stand firm. You've got to protect your peace, your energy, your life. And remember, setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating space for the right people to come in. When you set boundaries, you're making room for relationships that are healthy, that are balanced, that are built on mutual respect. You're creating a life that honors your worth, that values your time and your energy. And when you do that, you start to attract people who respect those things too. You start to build a life that's in alignment with who you truly are, not with what others expect you to be. So protect yourself. Set those boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't serve you. Don't be afraid to walk away from situations that drain you. You have the right to live a life that's full, that's joyful, that's purposeful. And that starts with recognizing your worth and protecting it fiercely. Boundaries are your shield. They're your way of saying, I know my value and I won't let anyone take it from me. Stand firm in that truth and watch how your life begins to change. Watch how the people around you start to respect you in ways they never did before. And most importantly, watch how you begin to respect yourself. Empowerment begins with self-respect. When you truly value yourself, you develop the strength to stand firm in who you are, no matter what others try to push on you. Self-respect is the foundation that protects you from manipulation, from being swayed or used by those who don't have your best interests at heart. It's about knowing your worth and not allowing anyone to diminish it, not even for a moment. When you respect yourself, you're able to see through the games and the schemes that people might use to control you or take advantage of your kindness, your talents, your time. Standing strong against manipulation requires clarity. Clarity in knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will and won't tolerate. Manipulators thrive on confusion and doubt. They want you second-guessing yourself, questioning whether you're doing enough, being enough, giving enough. But when you respect yourself, you don't fall into that trap. You know your boundaries. And you know when someone is trying to push them. You know when someone is trying to twist your words or your actions for their own gain. And you don't let it slide. To be empowered through self-respect is to understand that your value doesn't come from external approval or validation. It comes from within. It comes from knowing that you are worthy simply because you exist, because you have a purpose, because you are a person of worth. Manipulators will try to make you feel like you need them, like you can't stand on your own without their guidance, their direction, their influence. But that's where your strength comes in. When you respect yourself, you know that you don't need anyone to validate your worth. You are complete on your own. Standing strong also means being aware of the tactics that manipulators use. They'll often try to make you feel guilty, like you owe them something, like you should do more or give more, because they've done something for you in the past. But self-respect means recognizing that healthy relationships aren't built on guilt or obligation. They're built on mutual respect, mutual care, and mutual benefit. If someone is trying to manipulate you through guilt, through emotional blackmail, it's a sign that they don't respect you or your boundaries. And when you respect yourself, you don't allow that kind of behavior to continue. Another tactic manipulators use is playing on your insecurities. They'll try to make you feel small, make you doubt yourself so that you feel like you need them to guide you, to lift you up. But when you have self-respect, you're not easily shaken by the opinions or judgments of others. You know who you are, and you stand firm in that knowledge. You understand that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's approval. It's not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about knowing that no matter what, you are enough. Empowerment through self-respect also means trusting yourself. Manipulators will try to convince you that you don't know what's best for you, that they have the answers, that they can guide you better than you can guide yourself. But when you respect yourself, you trust your own judgment. You trust your instincts, your gut, your ability to make decisions for your life. You understand that while advice and input from others can be helpful, you are the ultimate authority on your life. You know what's best for you, and you have the courage to follow that truth, even when others try to steer you in a different direction. Self-respect empowers you to say no. No to situations, to relationships, to opportunities that don't align with your values or your goals. Manipulators will try to make you feel like you have to say yes to everything, like you owe them your time, your energy, your resources. But when you respect yourself, you know that your time is precious. You know that your energy is limited, and you choose to invest it in things that nourish you, that build you up, that move you forward. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. It's an act of self-care, of self-preservation. To stand strong against manipulation, you must also be willing to walk away from toxic situations. Sometimes the most empowering thing you can do is to remove yourself from an environment or relationship that is draining you, that is using you, that is trying to manipulate you into being someone you're not. Walking away isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's a declaration that you will not tolerate being treated as anything less than you are. It's an acknowledgement that you deserve better, and you're willing to make the hard choice to seek it out. Empowerment through self-respect also involves being honest with yourself about your needs and desires. Manipulators will often try to convince you that their needs are more important than yours, that their goals should take precedence over yours. But when you respect yourself, you don't fall into that trap. You acknowledge that your needs, your goals, your desires are just as important as anyone else's. You don't put yourself on the back burner for the sake of someone else's agenda. You make space for yourself, for your dreams, for your growth, and you don't apologize for it. One of the most powerful aspects of self-respect is the ability to surround yourself with people who uplift you, who respect your boundaries, who celebrate your growth. Manipulators will often try to isolate you to make you feel like you have to rely on them, that no one else understands you or can help you. But when you respect yourself, you seek out relationships that are healthy, that are built on mutual respect, trust, and care. You surround yourself with people who see your worth, who encourage your growth, who support you in becoming the best version of yourself. Finally, standing strong against manipulation means never settling for less than you deserve. Manipulators will try to convince you that you should be grateful for whatever scraps of attention or affection they throw your way. They'll try to make you feel like you don't deserve more, like you should just be content with what they give you. But when you respect yourself, you know that you are worthy of love, respect, and care in its fullest form. You don't settle for half measures or conditional affection. You hold out for relationships and situations that honor your worth, that give as much as they take, that build you up instead of tearing you down. In the end, empowerment through self-respect is about reclaiming your power. It's about understanding that you are the author of your life, and no one else gets to write your story for you. It's about standing firm in your truth, even when others try to shake you. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. When you respect yourself, you are unshakable. You are strong, you are empowered, and you are free from the chains of manipulation. You stand tall, knowing that you are worthy of every good thing, and you will not settle for anything less. Finding your voice is one of the most powerful things you can do in your life. It's about reclaiming control, standing firm, and knowing when to say no. When you discover that voice inside of you, you find a strength that's always been there, just waiting for you to tap into it. That strength allows you to draw boundaries, to set limits on what you will and won't accept. Saying no is not about rejecting people or opportunities. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, and your purpose. It's about understanding that your time and your spirit are precious, and you have the right to decide how you use them. When you say no, you're making a statement that you value yourself. You're telling the world that you are not a resource to be used up, that you are not here to serve every demand that comes your way. People may try to guilt you, to pressure you into saying yes when you know deep down you don't want to. But that's when your voice, your inner power must rise up. Saying no doesn't mean you're being selfish or unkind. It means you've recognized your own needs and have chosen to prioritize them. Finding your voice requires courage. The courage to stand against the tide when everyone else is trying to pull you in one direction. It's easy to go along with what people want, to say yes just to keep the peace or avoid conflict. But every time you do that, every time you go against your instincts, you give away a little piece of your control. You become more and more distant from what you truly want and need. Saying no is about taking that control back piece by piece, decision by decision. People often misunderstand the power of no. They think it's a negative word, a rejection. But no can be a positive force in your life. No is what creates the space for the right opportunities, the right people, the right moments to come into your life. If you're always saying yes, you're filling your life with things that may not serve you. You're scattering your energy in all directions. But when you say no to the things that don't align with your purpose, you create room for the things that do. You're telling the universe, I'm ready for what's truly meant for me. Learning to say no also means learning to trust yourself. You have to trust that you know what's best for you. People will try to convince you otherwise. They'll tell you that their way is better, that you should follow their lead, that you owe them something. But when you trust your voice, when you trust your instincts, you don't get swayed by outside opinions. You know what's right for you, and you stand by that, even when it's hard. Trusting yourself means believing that you are capable of making decisions that protect your well-being, your growth, and your peace of mind. Control isn't about dominating others or being rigid in your decisions. It's about owning your choices, understanding that you have the power to direct your life. Too often we give away control because we don't want to disappoint people or because we think we have to do what's expected of us. But every time you give away your control, you step further from your path. Reclaiming control is about getting back on your path, about aligning your actions with your values. It's about making choices that support your growth, not drain your spirit. When you start saying no, you'll notice something remarkable. Your relationships will begin to change. The people who truly care about you, who respect you, will understand and honor your boundaries. They'll appreciate that you're taking care of yourself, and they'll support you in that. On the other hand, the people who are only in your life to take from you, to use you for their own purposes, will start to fall away. Saying no becomes a filter for who and what should stay in your life. It's a way of weeding out the people and situations that don't serve your highest good. Saying no is also a way to build respect for yourself. The more you stand up for what you need, the more you reinforce your own sense of worth. You start to see yourself as someone who deserves respect, who deserves to have their needs met. And as you build that self-respect, others will begin to respect you more as well. People sense when someone values themselves and they respond to that energy. When you respect yourself, you're teaching others how to treat you. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Finding your voice and saying no can be challenging, especially if you've been conditioned to say yes your whole life. It takes time and practice. You might stumble along the way. You might say yes when you know you should have said no. But that's part of the journey. Every time you say no, you're exercising that muscle, building your strength. And over time, it gets easier. Your voice becomes louder, clearer. You start to speak up for yourself without hesitation. Reclaiming control is about taking responsibility for your life. It's about understanding that no one else is going to protect your peace or guard your energy. That's your job. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be the one to say, this is what I need and I won't compromise on it. Control doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself, from knowing what you want and having the courage to pursue it. It's about making decisions that reflect your values, your priorities, and your purpose. At the end of the day, finding your voice is about freedom. It's about freeing yourself from the expectations of others, from the pressures to conform, from the fear of disappointing people. It's about living authentically in alignment with who you truly are. And when you start living that way, when you start saying no to what doesn't serve you, you'll find a new level of peace and clarity in your life. You'll be able to move forward with confidence, knowing that you are in control of your destiny, that you are the one steering the ship. Remember, saying no is not a rejection of others, it's an affirmation of yourself. It's a declaration that you are worthy of respect, that your needs matter, and that you have the power to shape your life. Finding your voice is the key to unlocking that power, to reclaiming control over your choices, your time, and your energy. So stand tall, trust yourself, and never be afraid to say no when you need to. That's where your true strength lies. The power of persistence is something that resides deep within us. And it's something that, when coupled with faith, can move mountains. When we talk about trusting that a way will be made, it's not just about sitting back and hoping for the best. No, it's about digging deep, putting in the work, and holding firm to the belief that your efforts will not be in vain. Life is full of obstacles, setbacks, and challenges. There will be moments where you feel like you're running up against a wall. And no matter how hard you push, the doors just won't open. But that's when persistence comes in. Persistence isn't about never facing difficulty, it's about how you handle those difficulties. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't see the results yet. It's about believing that, even if the path ahead looks unclear or blocked, there's a reason to keep moving. Because trust me, there is always a way. It might not look like what you expected, it might not happen when you want it, but if you keep your faith strong, if you continue to persevere, that way will open up. Life will throw you curveballs, and sometimes it feels like it's all hitting at once. In those moments, it's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder why you're putting in all this effort when the outcome isn't clear. But let me tell you, the true test of faith isn't in the moments when everything is going smoothly. It's in those hard moments when everything feels like it's falling apart, that your faith and persistence are tested the most. And that's exactly when you need to hold on tight, because that's when breakthroughs happen. Persistence is about trusting that the work you're doing today, even if it seems small, even if it feels insignificant, is laying the groundwork for something bigger. You may not see the entire picture right now, but every step you take is a part of it. I think of it like building a house. You lay down one brick at a time. Some days you're laying those bricks and you look up, and it feels like you haven't made any progress. The walls still look low, the roof feels miles away. But brick by brick, step by step, you're building something solid, something that will stand strong when it's finally complete. Now, imagine if you stopped halfway through. Imagine if you gave up because you couldn't see the finished house yet. You would have lost all the effort you put in, all the progress you made. That's what happens when we give up too soon. We lose the potential of everything we've worked for. Persistence isn't just about pushing forward blindly. It's about knowing that every effort matters, that every day you show up counts toward the bigger picture. And here's the thing about persistence: it builds character. It teaches you discipline, patience, and resilience. When you keep going, even when it's tough, you grow in ways you never expected. Every obstacle you overcome, every challenge you face, shapes you into a stronger, wiser, more capable person. Those challenges aren't there to break you, they're there to build you. They're there to prepare you for what's ahead, for the opportunities that are coming your way. But you'll only be ready for them if you keep pushing, if you keep believing that a way will be made. Faith without persistence is incomplete. It's easy to have faith when things are going well, but true faith is tested in the fire. It's tested when you're walking through the storm, when the road ahead looks rough, and when you're not sure how things are going to work out. That's when persistence and faith come together. Persistence is the action, faith is the fuel. Together, they create a force that's unstoppable. You might not see the way right now. You might be looking at your situation and thinking, how is this ever going to change? How am I going to get through this? But that's exactly when you need to hold on to your faith and keep moving. Because you're not meant to see every step of the journey. Sometimes you just have to trust that as you keep walking, the path will become clearer. The way will be made, but it's up to you to keep taking those steps, to keep showing up, to keep doing the work. And here's another thing: persistence doesn't mean you won't fall. You might stumble along the way. You might face setbacks that knock you down. But persistence is about getting back up every time you fall. It's about looking at the obstacles in your way and saying, I'm not stopping here. It's about believing that no matter how many times you get knocked down, you have the strength to rise again. That strength comes from within, and it comes from knowing that you're not walking this path alone. There's a purpose in everything you're going through, even if you can't see it right now. Sometimes the delays and setbacks you experience are preparing you for something greater. They're building you up, strengthening you for the next chapter. But you'll only get to that chapter if you persist. If you let the hard times shape you instead of break you. If you trust that every challenge is a stepping stone to something greater, you'll see the fruit of your labor in due time. The journey of persistence is not just about getting to the destination. It's about who you become along the way. Every struggle, every challenge, every moment of doubt is shaping you into the person you're meant to be. It's teaching you the lessons you'll need for the future. And when you finally break through, when that way is made, you'll look back and realize that everything you went through was necessary to get you to that moment. You might be going through something. As you move forward, remember that persistence and faith are your greatest allies. Every challenge, every delay, every obstacle is molding you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the path ahead. Trust that even when the way isn't clear, it is being made with every step you take. Hold on, keep pushing, and believe in the power of your journey. The breakthrough is coming. And when it does, you'll see that everything you've endured was worth it. Stay strong, stay faithful, and let your persistence shine. Thank you for being here today. Keep moving forward.